This FAQ Monday is brought to you by all these wonderful Patreon supporters. Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of FAQ Monday. I'm your host, Fluff, and I'm jazzed. I'm ready to go. Answer some questions. Keep them coming, by the way. I mean, I could always use some more questions. First question. Jerry Cantrell's guitar tone from the Lane Staley era or the William Duvall era? Go. Well, I mean, my nostalgic side of me says Lane Staley era. Dirt is one of my favorite guitar tones of all time. However, it doesn't sound super modern. It's kind of muddy a little bit, but in like a really nice thick way. But on the other hand, Black Gives Way to Blue is one of the best sounding albums of all time, including the guitar tone, including the bass tone, including the individual drum tone, including the vocal tone. So that's tough for me. However, I would have to say Jerry's modern tone, William Duvall, ever since they got back together, his tone has never been better. And it's one of the best in the entire guitar world, I feel like. He himself has stated that his favorite recorded guitar tones of his stuff is the Black Gives Way to Blue album. And I would have to agree with that. That album is still a mix reference for a lot of top-notch mix engineers that I know. Yeah, as much as it pains me to say, I guess it would be Jerry's modern tone. Any plans of trying to get your hands on a Soldado SLO? Well, they currently don't make the Soldado SLO 100. A lot of you guys probably missed or don't know that Soldado was bought by Boutique Amp Distribution, my homies, who put out Synergy stuff. It's who Dave Friedman uses to build the chassis and construct the amplifiers down in Los Angeles. Boutique Amp Distribution also does, like diesel stuff and all the Wampler pedals, etc., etc. But Mike Soldano sold Soldano amps to Boutique Amp Distribution because basically, as he told me, he just kind of got tired of doing paperwork. He just wanted to design amps, and he's doing just that right now and updating the Soldado SLO 100 to a Mark II version because the SLO is pretty old at this point. It's like 30 years old, right? 30, 35 years old. So there are huge technical disadvantages to the original design in this modern era. It wasn't designed for modern tubes. It was, cathode follower stuff, etc., etc. Mike told me all about that stuff, but I didn't understand half of it. But Mike is updating the Soldado SLO to a Mark II version. He's not changing the tone, but he's doing some circuit tweaks to make it more efficient and less noisy and things like that. So I will be getting an SLO 100 Mark II when it comes out. I don't even know if I was supposed to tell any of you guys that. If any of the Boutique Amp Distribution guys are watching, I'm sorry if I wasn't supposed to say anything. Oh well. Anyway, I'm rolling with it. But yeah, so Soldado SLO 100 Mark II is coming, and that will be here on this channel. How's the songwriting process in Dragged Under? Do you work on riffs individually or song ideas together? The writing process for Dragged Under is slightly weird. I mean, it's kind of unconventional for me because I'm kind of old school in the fact that you just sit in a sweaty room and jam stuff out. That's how we wrote a lot of the Rest Repose stuff, or it was me or Jared bringing in entire songs. With Dragged Under, we have this newest album that's being mixed right now. It was produced by Hiram Hernandez, and basically the writing process is everyone brings riffs and song ideas into a room, and we basically get together. It's me, Josh, and Tony, and Hiram, and we have a Universal Audio Apollo Twin, and we have a MacBook, we have some monitors, and we start passing a guitar around. And it's very organic and it moves very, very quick, but sometimes a whole song will more or less make it through. For example, Here for War, Josh wrote that. He brought that in as almost a finished song. I mean, it was pretty finished. And then Hiram rearranged a little bit of it and beefed up some of the vocal lines, and then that was it. But with something like Hypochondria, I had a riff and I taught it to Hiram, and then Hiram was like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if it did this, and kind of flipped it around, and that's the main riff to Hypochondria. So it's very organic, and it's very like whoever happens to be holding the guitar is the one that's gonna track that part for the album. So it's a very collaborative situation, but it's definitely not sitting in a room sweating it out. In a band situation, you're sweating it out in front of a MacBook, just writing and riffing and, you know, eating Thai food. Pretty weird, but it's cool. It works. What's your opinion on the hardcore boom that seemed to happen in the past couple of years? You know, I really dig it. I really dig the fact that like a lot of the elements of hardcore are coming back. You know, back in the day, I used to listen to bands like Down to Nothing and things like that, and it really, the new stuff reminds me of that. You know, most notably, I think Knocked Loose is kind of flying that New York hardcore, maybe not New York hardcore, just hardcore flag, in my opinion, bringing bands like Stick to Your Guns and Rotting Out on the road with them. I just saw Knock Loose on tour like a week ago, and it was amazing. They're a new breed of hardcore because they're so detuned in their guitars. However, they do bring the best elements of that classic hardcore sense, and I like it. Also notably, at the Knock Loose show, there wasn't a cell phone in the house. Yeah, sure, there was people taking pictures, but it wasn't a whole crowd of just holding up cell phones. People were in the moment and they were enjoying themselves and they were stage diving. It was very organic, and I haven't seen a show like that in quite some time. But yeah, overall, I really enjoy the resurgence of the hardcore style bands and just what's coming from the mixing of styles with hardcore. Do you like the blue channel on the EVH 5150? It's okay. I mean, it's a little muddy. I like the voicing of the red channel, but I wish it had the gain of the blue channel, if that makes sense, because the red is so gained out and meant for like crazy lead stuff, and the blue is technically the rhythm channel, but I like the voicing of the lead channel, but it has so much gain, whereas the blue channel is much more reserved and you can crank the gain, you know, past 2 o'clock and it's still just fine, but it has a lot of bottom end, and I don't really care for that too much. That's why I'm typically on the red channel when I'm doing rhythm stuff. I just back the gain way off. I mean, it's almost off, and it's about right, but I don't know. I should try the stealth. I think that's different. I think that's voiced differently. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, please. But I have not tried a stealth personally, but I would like to try a full 100 watt version of the 5150 stealth. Are you a skate punk / melodic hardcore fan? What are your favorite guitar tones of the gender? Yes, huge fan of the skate punk stuff, especially. I was always a big fan of Pennywise guitar tones and some of the earlier Pennywise stuff. Fletcher has said he used a Mesa Boogie Mark IV before switching over to rectifiers, and sometimes 5150s. I know Full Circle was like a mixture of Mark IV and a 5150, which I was like, wait, what, really? Previous to that, like the About Time records and the Unknown Road, those were all Mesa Boogie Mark IV. And then past that, like starting with Straight Ahead, that was all rectifier. So he loves the rectifier. His favorite amp of all time is the rectifier. But a lot of the skate punk stuff sounded really good for the time, and a lot of them were dual rectifiers. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, the Pulley albums were all dual rectifier. 98 Mute, I loved. Good Riddance was like a Marshall 800 and a Bogner. I loved a lot of the Fat Wreck stuff in the 90s. The Epitaph stuff was good as well, but you know, most of the time, those bands are using 2-channel dual rectifiers and or Marshall JCM 800s. They weren't using anything too exotic. They were using stuff that was readily available to them in the 90s California punk scene. So yeah, a lot of it was just, you know, Mesa Boogie and Marshall stuff, to be honest. But, you know, Lagwagon used Mesa Boogie Mark IVs and VHT Pitbulls. I think Lagwagon tones were really solid. Same with No Use for a Name. Again, 2-channel dual rectifier. But yeah, that's, I don't know, maybe that's where I get my absurd love of the dual rectifier. I don't know. But I never really thought about this before. That's an interesting question. Skate punk though, I love it. And now, Fluff reads a tweet. What's a balloon's least favorite type of music? top. My suggestion to you this week is to check out the excellent podcast from Ernie Ball, Striking a Chord. Ernie Ball started a podcast recently, and it's really, really awesome. And it's just has Jason Richardson, Steve Morse, and I think Justin Chancellor from Tool have been the guests so far. It just launched, and I've just been really enjoying it when I'm at the gym. So we're doing a little workout, and I pop in the podcast, and it's just really enjoyable. And yeah, I thought if you guys like podcasts at all and are into gear, definitely check this podcast out because they're doing a great job with it. All applicable links down below in the description. You've been wonderful. I've been Fluff. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Wow, another video gone by. Hope it was pretty good. I mean, it's probably pretty good. But if it wasn't, awkward, right?